There's a blood-red circle on the cold, dark ground, and the rain is pouring down. The church door's thrown open, I can hear the organ song, but the congregation's gone. My city of ruin, my city of ruin. Now the sweet bells of mercy drift through the evening trees, young men on the corner like scattered leaves. The boarded up windows, the empty street, while my brother's down on his knees. My city of ruin, my city of ruin. Come on, rise up. 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 Now there's tears on the pillow, darling, where we slept. And you took my heart when you left. Without your sweet kiss, my soul is lost, my friend. Tell me, how do I begin again? My city's in ruins. My city's in ruins. Now with these hands, with these hands, with these hands, with these hands, I pray, Lord. That song is a song about resilience. I love that song. It was a Bruce Springsteen classic, just like Born in the USA. So that's the thing, guys. I love it, don't you? Alexa, what time is it?
It's 5:10 p.m.
So anyway, that's what we got to do, you know? We can't give up. We should never give up, even when the going gets tough, even when it feels like that stuff's not just going our way. I mean, here I am, I have a disability, and I tell you what, there were times where I felt like, what the hell am I even doing this for? Why am I even doing this schoolwork? It's just stressful. I can't take it. But you know what? I had people that cared about me, that stood with me and told me that I could keep going. They knew I was tired. They knew it was stressful, but they wouldn't allow me to feel sorry for myself. They wouldn't allow me to give up growing up. You know why? Because they cared. Because they cared, I'm where I am today. Because they cared, I'm not out on a street corner somewhere with a cup in my hand. Because they cared, I know I can be whatever I want to be. I don't have to be what somebody tells me to be. I can be what I want to be. I can make my life of it any what I believe that God desires. Nobody has the right. Nobody has the right to tell you what to do in your own life. Nobody. Nobody. I mean, if it's someone giving advice that you've asked for, yeah. But nobody on the YouTube platform has the right to try to dictate to you who you can hang around with, who you can't hang around with, or anything like that. You know why? Because at the end of the day, guess what? You're going to have to be the one to answer for who you hang around with, not that other person. Not the other person. It don't matter what they think. I tell you what, that's always been something I've struggled with. You know, what's this person going to think if I do this? And it was usually somebody in authority. And over the past few years, I've had to come to the realization that I don't have, it doesn't matter what they think. I'm an adult. I'm an adult. And in as much as a lot of the people that I grew up around, that were my teachers or friends of my parents, as much as I love them, they had to realize that I was my own person, that I was an adult. And that's the thing, and that's the one thing in the disability community. There are caregivers and they mean well, but they tell the disabled person, "Oh, you can't do that." Oh, well, you're not doing that. The disabled person has a dream and then it gets crushed because somebody in their life, whether it be a guardian, caregiver, somebody else, tells them that they can't do it. Or some guidance counselor thinking she's some kind of genius or he's some kind of a genius, and thank God I never had this problem. Some guidance counselor says, "Oh, you're never going to amount to anything." You know what happens when you tell a child that? That child believes it, and they end up on the street committing crime because you were too sorry to help that kid. You were too sorry and worried about that paycheck in order to help that child out, to help that child succeed. Thank God I had a guidance counselor that cared enough to call me to his office and say, "Hey man, how you doing? Have you thought about a career?" "Yes, sir." "What do you want to be?" "Well, I want to go into the ministry with the Baptist church." "Well, guess what? You can do it, RJ. I believe in you. You can do it. You can be anything you want to be. Have you thought about possibly being an attorney?" "Yes." "Okay, here's information on how to be an attorney." See, that's what a guidance counselor should be doing. A guidance counselor should be willing to follow a student, even if the student is struggling in school. A guidance counselor should be a person that student can go to and say, "You know what, Mrs. Johnson? I feel like dropping out of school. It's too hard because I got to take care of my baby brother, my baby sister, and my parents are at work. I don't know what to do. And then maybe Mrs. Johnson could help that student to stay in school. Encourage that student to stay in school. Because when a kid drops out of school, they're missing opportunities. When a child doesn't have an opportunity to go to college, they miss out. Because see, guys, this is the thing. It's just like that senator said at the Republican response at the end of the State of the Union address. I heard some of it today, and she was sitting at her kitchen table and talking about kitchen table issues facing Americans today. The high price of gasoline, the shortages, a lot of this stuff. Like, guys, we have people that can't make it because they maybe have gotten laid off of their job. Why? Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Because our government is spending our money on Ukraine and other places instead of making sure that Americans have something. If something were happening to the US where we had a natural disaster, how many nations do you think would send aid to us? Do you realize we send a lot of aid to these other countries, but yet they don't pay their fair share? They expect from the US, but we should be expecting too. We should be expecting too. Because we send them all this money. We send them billions and billions of dollars to help Ukraine or to help this one or to help that one. And what did we get in return? Nothing. Nothing. I mean, Israel, they stand with us, and the current administration's turning their back on them. And we shouldn't do that. We should support Israel. We should support Israel. Israel has done nothing to anybody. That is my personal opinion. It's a part of my religious beliefs that, Genesis 12:3, whoever blesses Israel shall be blessed, and whoever curses Israel shall be cursed. So that, when I'm talking about Israel, it's a part of my religious convictions. But we should not be sending money to Ukraine or any of these other countries. We need to be worried about our own people. And then we can go and help the other countries. Clean up our own backyard first and then go and help somebody clean out theirs. Take the moat or take this, the mote out of your eye, and then you can see to take the speck out of your brother's eye. That's in the Bible. And he's talking about judging people's motives. They're trying to judge their heart, not their actions, not what they do. Now, when he's saying don't judge, he's not talking about a court case. He's not talking about like what a judge does. He's saying basically don't judge a person until you know the entire situation. Because you don't know their heart. You don't know what they're on about. You have to, like, and then there's another scripture. The Bible says, hear both sides of a matter before making a judgment call. You got to hear both sides of a matter before you get so wrapped up in whatever it is that you start making judgments. And I know that sounds harsh, but we need to hear that. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 5:24 p.m.
And that's part of it, guys. We've got to be careful what we say to people. We need to be careful because if we don't, we're gonna be the ones on the judgment seat being judged. I'm just stating the facts. I hear that all the time. I'm just stating the facts. I'm just stating the facts. Okay, what are the facts? Are the facts what you see them to be? Or are they facts based on evidence? They have a saying in court, objection, Your Honor, facts not in evidence. Meaning, if it's not in evidence, you can't share it. So, the fact, okay? The fact is, the sky is blue. Well, we know the sky's blue. That's an immutable fact. That's an unchanging fact. The sky is blue. It's not orange. It's not red. It's not gray. It's not black. It's not turquoise. It's blue. Okay? It's blue. The fact is that as a human being, you go to the bathroom and you sit on the toilet and you take a dump. You poop. That is a fact. That is a known fact. Everybody gets on the toilet and takes a dump. That is an undisputable fact. That's a fact. But you got some people that'll say, oh, well, so-and-so is mentally and emotionally unstable. Okay. How do you know? Have you diagnosed that person? Have you been through a training program and gotten a degree in psychiatry or psychology to make such a statement, to make such a diagnosis, to truly understand what that person's going through? Whether or not that person is suffering from psychosis or anything of that nature? That's an opinion. But as a layperson, your opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Now, if you had a degree in psychology and you were licensed in whatever state you're licensed in as a psychologist, and you saw a particular person, then you could say, okay, this person may need some mental health treatment. I mean, I'm not even in psychology. But I'm not going to go and say, oh, this person's mentally and emotionally unstable just because I think they are. Folks, come on now. Number one, that person may not be mentally and emotionally unstable. And number two, if you say that in a public forum, they could end up suing you for defamation of character and slander if something happens concerning their reputation. So it's always a good idea to err on the side of caution. That's why I'm not involved in drama on YouTube. That's why I'm not talking crap about people on YouTube. That's why you never hear me, you know, screaming and yelling and calling people cuckold and all that, because it's not worth it. But what I am saying is this: if you are going to call someone mentally and emotionally unstable on a public platform, then you had better be ready for that person to push back if they so desire. Because that is a very serious statement that could get you in trouble if you're not careful. Now, that is a fact. That is an undisputed fact. Now, I ain't saying that to be mean, but it's true. You could get in trouble for something like that if you're not careful. You very well could. And then what happens? Well, this person called me mentally and emotionally unstable on YouTube. And I was trying to look for a job, let's say. And this company I was talking to found that YouTube video and decided not to hire me based on the video. And based on what that person said. You see, that's where people need to be very careful. That's where people need to be very, very careful. Very careful. Because we don't understand. I think a lot of times we forget our words, especially on social media, have a major impact. A major impact. We don't realize it. But I think it's time we should. I think it's time we do. And we've got to realize it, because if we don't, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's just the way it's got to be, guys. We have got to stop doing this nonsense of calling people mentally and emotionally unstable, especially when we're just a bunch of armchair quarterbacks that don't know a cotton picking thing about somebody else's life outside of a platform called YouTube. Do you live in that person's skin? Do you walk in their shoes? Do you smell their shit? Do you smell their piss? Do you eat their dinner? No, you don't. So mind your own business. And I'm telling myself the same thing because I don't know what that person's going through. So I'm not going to judge. That's the reason why you never hear me getting into drama anymore. That's the reason why you never hear me calling somebody a California cuckold like I used to. Because it's not worth it. It is not worth it. It's not worth getting mad over. It's not worth getting all in a titty over. Or a tizzy, I mean. Not titty, I'm sorry. It's not worth it. Half these people you never going to meet in real life. So what's the use in getting all mad? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we need to grow up. We need to grow up. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 5:34 p.m.
But see, that's the problem, guys. We have got to stop this nonsense. We've got to. Because there's no use for it. There is absolutely no use for it. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. And if you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. And hit the bell for all notifications. Thank you.